I went into a local coffee shop a couple of weeks ago. I'd been downtown wandering around and I found this used bookstore. I like bookstores, especially used bookstores. In the movies, these are always places where you can find ancient books on magic. Like somehow the most powerful wizard in the world who'd written down their work got them somehow lost through the cracks of time and they ended up on the shelves for 50 cents. I didn't find any books by a wizard, but I did find a book from an author I used to read a lot. I flipped through the book trying to remember if I'd read it before, and I was pretty sure that I didn't. So I paid $0.25 for it and wandered down the street and found a coffee shop. I found a table right next to the window, a perfect spot to read, enjoy some coffee, and do some people watching. So I'm about 50 pages into this book, and this woman walks up kind of nervously. She didn't seem like she was going to ask me to join a cult, nor did she seem to be pitching an MLM, so I was interested. She motioned to the book and asked something about if I like books on this. I said yeah, and she acted like this was some kind of a big deal and asked if she could sit down. Of course I said yes, you can read a book anytime, but if you have a chance to have an interesting conversation, even if they are trying to recruit you for a cult, that doesn't happen very often. She started talking about when she was a kid, and she had this old lady who lived on her block. That's when I understood what she meant. The old woman was the kind of a go-to babysitter, as all the kids liked her and all the parents trusted her. And she would entertain the kids by doing magic tricks. This is where the confusion is. The book I was reading was a detective story. The killer was a magician, and he was using his magic skills to kill people and not leave any clues. It had the word magic in the title. She was reminded of her who did magic tricks when she was much younger. But the magic tricks she did were much more than just card tricks, much more than just sleight of hand, much more than mathematical tricks. According to her, she could do real magic. She said one of the things they did when they were babysitting was to pick one of the kids. Then, as a group, they would pick something really strange but edible for that kid's dinner. Something like grilled peanut butter and banana sandwiches with chocolate covering. And then they, as a group, she and the kids and her, would focus on that image. They would project this into their mind. They would take that idea and put it into the kid's parents' mind. And sure enough, that kid would go home and his or her mom or dad would suddenly decide to have grilled peanut butter and banana sandwiches with chocolate topping. She said they did other stuff that she can't be sure was real or not. Like she's able to remember things, but she's not sure if these memories actually happened. Or maybe if this whole thing is a hallucination of some kind. Like she would make things levitate. She could make an entire table start to lift up off the ground with only her mind. Later she explained that she couldn't do it on her own. It was kind of like Peter Pan, where she had to be around enough young minds that believed it was possible. She explained that long ago, before humans learned to write, we had much stronger magical abilities, that we had the ability to conjure things purely from our thoughts. That one modern way to notice this is to watch yourself speaking. You need to do this while you're alone. It's hard to do this when other people are watching. But if you can release thoughts of the past, if you can release thoughts of the future, if you can only focus on the present, it can work. You focus only on the now and begin speaking. You have to speak as spontaneously as you can. You can't speak in gibberish. You have to speak intelligently. But if you pay close attention to the precise location in your mind where the words are coming from, you can experience ancient magic. There is a mental space right on the border of your subconscious and conscious where all thought streams originate. And when you can turn this streaming thought into a stream of intelligent ideas, what happens next is nearly miraculous. The idea is to pull back in your mind and act as if you are watching some entity speak. When you can begin to feel the source of wisdom that exists just behind the curtain of your mind, that infinite source of infinite knowledge that is parsing the boundary between subconscious and conscious thought, where you can both feel, appreciate, master, and completely objectively watch this stream of ideas coming from within your mind. She said that they could only do this until the children started to get close to 8 or 9 years old. It turns out there's a very important span of time in the mind of a child when they are just old enough to understand complex topics, but not too old to not believe in magic. Before the invention of writing, all humans stayed in in this state their entire lives, because all they had was what they saw around them, the natural world and what existed inside their mind, the magical world. But once writing was invented, this natural human ability stopped. I asked her if she ever contacted that woman or what happened to her. She told me that until she saw me reading this book on magic, she hadn't thought about her in years. But she did say that she's certain there are some books out there, books on real magic, books on how to master this connection between subconscious and conscious, to somehow reopen your doorway to magic, to somehow find this lost art. She left and I went back to my book. While I had always enjoyed reading this author before, nothing could match the conversation I had with this woman. And the funny thing is that by the time I got halfway through the book, I started to remember that I did read this before. It's funny how memory works. You can be certain that something is true, but it's not. And you can be just as certain that something absolutely cannot be true. But it turns out that this is the truest thing there is.